Check it out, Classic Game Room has a Sega Master System control pad. And this pad takes control of whatever game you're playing with it on the Sega Master System. It's a tiny little thing actually. It's even smaller than the original NES controller. What's interesting about this controller is that given the small size, the control pad itself is actually quite large and very comfortable on your thumb. So in playing games like Shinobi, it's actually quite easy to maneuver. Most Sega Master System games used 2 buttons, and there's no start button on this unit, so you use button 1 for start. And if you take a close look here, you can see these buttons have quite a bit of movement in them. They're not quite as responsive as those that you'll find on the Sega Genesis controller or even the original NES controllers. Although this is still a very comfortable controller, everything is very smooth, comfortable in your hands. The little boxy shape of it is somewhat awkward for adult hands today, but it's not bad, and this uses the same plug as the Sega Genesis controllers. You can see it says Sega there, same plug as the Atari 2600 and 7800 controllers. You can actually use this for the Atari 7800, and you can use the Sega Genesis controllers to play Master System games, and also if you play your Master System games on the Genesis through the power base converter, you can use any Sega Genesis controller, including the big ones, the arcade sticks. Take a look at the back of this thing. It says Sega Model 3020, and although it's not my favorite controller to play with Sega Master System games, I prefer the Genesis controller. The unique design of this thing definitely stands out, has a really cool retro 1980s look to it, and if anything, if you find one of these out there for cheap, it's a great replacement for the Atari 7800 controllers. Those original god-awful joysticks that came with the Atari 7800. When playing Astro Warrior on my Sega Genesis with the Master System power base converter, I prefer to use my gigantic fighting stick, which is a tremendous arcade joystick. The Sega Master System controller will work with your Sega Genesis, as well as your Master System obviously, and the design cues on the controller actually match the Sega Master System cartridges. You can see they both have matching shades of burgundy and mid-1980s design cues that actually match the Sega Master System perfectly. If I were to have one of those, I'd show you. But as it is, I've got that, I've got this, and that's a winning combination. If we take a look at this next to its primary competitor, the original NES controller, you can see the NES controller is slightly larger. However, the D-pad on the Sega controller is larger and more comfortable. However, I prefer the buttons on the Nintendo. They're very similar, in fact. This does not have start and select buttons. They both have great designs. I wish they'd bring that kind of style back to controllers today. Lots of blocks and design cues for no apparent reason. Awesome.